Hey, hello everyone. Good afternoon. And thanks for joining the session. I think we'll give a 5 minutes time for other participants to join because we have very less numbers as of now. So maybe a couple of more minutes, we'll just wait and then we'll start the session.
Sure, Naveen, please tell me when we get started, yeah?
Yeah, sure. I'll keep you updated.
Yes.
So slowly the numbers are increasing. We're waiting for a few more participants to join because we have some good number of registration. So maybe if we'll give 1 more minute and then we'll start the session. Maybe exactly at 3:05 we'll start the session. Yeah, thanks for confirming. Okay, I think we'll start at exactly at 3:05. Before that, thanks for joining the session. And see, I'm from SkillUpRight. We are a corporate training organization, and we deliver IT and soft skills training, or behavior or leadership trainings to our clients. Some of the clients that we work with are like Infosys, Tata Elxsi, Sony, Virtusa, Godrej Infotech, and many more. So about 20, 30 clients we work with, and we deliver trainings to them. And today, we thought since it's the beginning of the year, and that's why we have scheduled this webinar for learning trends. And we have Anuradha Preeth is going to deliver the session. She's from Bosch, so she will be introducing herself very briefly. And so one before starting the session, so we have two windows. One is a chat window and one is a Q&A window. So in case if there is anything that you want to, maybe if you are finding any difficulty, whether you're not able to see the screen or no audio issues or anything, you can leave those messages in the chat. And any questions that you want to ask for Anuradha relating to pertaining to this session, you can leave those questions in the Q&A window. Okay. All right. So, Anuradha, you can take over from here. Over to you, Anuradha.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Naveen. And good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me today in this discussion on Learning Trends 2025. Yeah, I'm Anuradha Preeth from Bosch Global Software Technologies in Bangalore. So, at the outset, I would like to thank Naveen and Vinod from SkillUpRight, our sponsors today, for their commitment to enable sharing of insights and experiences within the L&D fraternity. So, I have chosen this topic, learning trends, because we are all in the midst of a rapidly changing work environment where technology, where the economy, and the work itself is in a constant flux. And this landscape is challenging organizations to rethink the many talent practices, including that of learning and development. Because at the end, talent is just not an asset, but it is the cornerstone of innovation and resilience. So, like before I dive in, like Naveen said, please actively engage in this interaction. Keep your thoughts and questions ready, and we will have a formal question and answer session towards the end. But I also have maybe in between pause for a little while so that you can share your questions if you have anything at that point. Yeah. So a little brief about me. I've been with Bosch for more than 15 years now in the people space. So I have worked across many functional areas of learning and development. Currently, I focus on the digitalization of the learning practices, learning management practices to be particular, which includes digitizing of content, digitalizing of workflows, bringing in newer features and functionalities. Previously, I've had a lot of experience over operations of content curation and design, process and governance, and bringing in high touch, high impact capability building interventions in the organization. So that's a bit about me. So let's get into the topic. I have three, segments today that I thought would be of interest. One is themed AI everywhere. Yeah, we know we are hearing it every day in and day out. The buzz is really high. So the focus will be on what are the new possibilities, what are the new models that we might have to need to explore or make sense and relevance to what we do. Then how do we blend theory and practice? How do we connect what we start in terms of research and strategy and when we execute so that there is a connection between what happens in a learning practice or a learning program to what really is transferred into their projects and work from the associates? And a few practical strategies from concept to launch of all of our programs. And of course, I look forward to interacting with you. So, on that note, I shall move into this topic, AI everywhere. And I sort of look at it from four perspectives. One is the rapidly changing concept of what is come to be known as a skills based economy. Yeah, skills is what drives the organizations, and now driving the organizations is technology. And with both of these put together, the people are in a constant state of mobility because the talent is moving across projects, across divisions, across domains, and so on. And then they come to expect from because of their constant learning and career invalidation, what is the kind of job market that they can really demonstrate their skills. And when I say job market, it is an internal job market, within the respective organizations. So what is this all about is what I'd like to sort of take you through, because this tells us why are we talking about the impact of AI. Yeah, I mentioned we start the basic purpose is the alignment to business. How will we see it happen, for whom is it happening, and what is it the what would be the outcome. And this is a cyclical process of yeah, and each one feeds into the other, and the impact of one, whether if it is, even if it is a deficiency, we will feel it impacting the impact of the other element. So what is this? So when I say skills based economy, we need organizations, big or small, to look at how the effort that is put into learning and development aligns with the business and the project requirements. We need a lot of predictive analytics to understand where is the talent pipeline available today, where do we need to take them. And this automatically leads us to the next aspect of how do we match people with skills. They may be having multiple skills and there are multiple projects. How do we bring the right match between the project and the skill and the person, and they might have acquired these skills through upskill, cross skill, reskill, and so on. So there is a purpose of why we need AI to enable this. Gone are the days when when it was all something that is simple and something which a department would ask and saying that please enable me a program for for the teams and so on. Now it has really become a very huge spread of tasks of work, because the work itself sometimes is distributed across multiple teams, multiple departments. So keeping a bird's eye view is becoming increasingly difficult if you work very locally with a simple folders, excels, and so on. So an AI enabled skills based economy is something that uh, really brings an impact for learning and development. And the technology itself, why do we need this technology? So I relate to the previous box. So the business is expecting certain skills in their people, in their employees, and to meet the future needs or the emerging market requirements. But they also need to understand where are my people in terms of skill today, the present. So you have the present state and you have a future requirement. So if the present state is matching the future requirement, that is the best case. But we are seeing this increasingly, the gap is something that is set in, and it is growing. Why? Because the focus on the right skill development is yet to mature. It is happening in pockets, it is happening in certain industries, maybe certain departments, but it has to become an institutionalized method. How do we analyze what is the gap between the requirement and the business, and what L&D can enable the organization via the associates? We also need technology to continuously assess this. Yeah, so sometimes a project has been acquired which requires certain skills, maybe certain proficiencies. They need an expert in a particular area, they need a project manager who can stitch it together. But the moment that project is over, or that business vertical, the line of delivery has been completed, there could be another project where there is an adjacency or where there is an increased proficiency that is expected. So this continuous skill assessment is something that is wanted and expected by business. And over time, in these last few years, many organizations have been working with certain LMS, the learning management systems. But these elements have been a very basic approach that helps in managing training, the event management, the attendance, the tracking, and so on. But now we need that to integrate. We need the skill gap analysis to integrate with an LMS so that your planning becomes efficient, the impact of the programs that are delivered becomes effective. So the technology is really playing a huge impact, and that is how we would want to drive a skill based economy. Now, who are we doing this for? We're doing this for the talent, for the employees. And what would be something that is looked forward? What is it that is what is something that the associates expect? Because they all come from different starting points. Yeah, over time they have moved across different projects. Some of them could be lateral hires, some of them could be fresh from campus, and some of them may be looking to change projects. So they all have a different starting page. So from that context, if they all have to reach a particular destination in terms of skills, they might need very different learning paths. So this is where personalization comes in, and this personalization is something that becomes very handy when you're able to visualize where am I today, and what is it that's validated, as an associate, as an employee. These are the skills I bring to the table, and this is what my manager or my customer has confirmed that yes, these are the kind of skills this person is good at, but these are the future requirements. So you have a learning path which tells you to move from one destination to the next. Yeah, so that's something that again that AI helps in. And through this you are bringing in data driven decision making, so you're able to understand how many people are where, how many are in which level, which skill, what are the future expectations. So this becomes very transparent, it becomes very very clear, and it's just at a click of a button you get a lot of information, which previously you had to do a lot of analysis, you had to get a lot of data sheets from different departments, from HR, from the business, and so on. But all of this gets it comes together in one page, and through this you're able to really efficiently optimize the talent pipeline that is within the organization through use of AI techniques for skill development. You're able to show the visibility to the business. This is how the pipeline is emerging. Yeah. And then what happens, because you have been able to bring in alignment with the business in terms of the skills expected, you're able to draw the gaps that are that are existing, because from the expectation in the business to the existence of the current status. You have enabled personalized learnings, we have seen data, and you've also taken decisions. You're now able to give clarity or visibility of career paths for the associates, for internal movement, internal projects that are available. You bring in a method of credentials, so that just because I do a program, that's inferring knowledge, but you should also be able to demonstrate that. Yeah, you have different methods. We will also see that in the next segment. The departments are able to confirm, yes, so and so, if they say they have completed a particular skill at a particular proficiency, I know what they'll be able to demonstrate. So these are the credentials that are useful. And you are in the process, one of the aspects that we are seeing is the setup of these global learning communities. Yeah, because of technology, we no longer constrained by borders, geographies, and so on. So we are able to bring in a lot of cross learning, cross sharing, peer learning, and so on. And this is the kind of outcome. So you will have associates who are able to give a career, a meaning to their career. You have business that is able to acquire these the associates and their skills and deploy them on their projects. So this is a summary of like how AI, though it is I mean you're very easy to get value out of AI, it's very difficult to scale. So these are the elements that helps you navigate how do you scale using AI in L&D. So this was my first segment. In case there are queries, we can also take them now, or please, like I mentioned, we'll have a more time later. We could get into the details of questions and comments. So from the aspect of AI everywhere, I go to how do we blend theory with practice. Yeah. So when I mentioned AI everywhere, it is using AI as a tool, AI as a methodology, as a technology to bring efficiency, to bring effectiveness to what we do in learning and development, and so that our impact as the L&D fraternity, our outcomes from L&D business is able to relate to and say that yes, this is really helping us in bridging gaps, in acquiring newer projects, in shortening our turnaround time, and so on. That was the AI piece. But then when we come to the associates, there's a lot that is happening. Using AI, we might have crafted content, we might have crafted a program, we might have crafted a learning journey, we might have personalized learning paths. Yeah. So these are all as channels to enable the learning of associates. But like I mentioned earlier, knowledge is not just to be inferred, it also has to be demonstrated, it has to be applied. So some of the methods, in addition to what happens in formal courses or in a formal instructor-led training, we have supplementary techniques and methods that is required. It's very essential to have this kind of a blending, so that you get the best out of all the efforts that go into learning. So one of them is what. So I have. I mean, there could be more, but I have picked up what are really relevant and something that we can relate to. Use of immersive technologies. we have some more details coming up next. Then learning in the flow of work, because if most of us who are familiar with the model of 70-20-10, we know that only 10% focuses on a formal learning, and whereas 70% focuses on learning what a employee can learn on the on the job and during the flow of work. So making that more structured, making that more accurate is something that gives us a lot of results. Experiential learning, then learning where we also are mindful of what's happening around us. That's why I have called out emotional intelligence. And of course, we are in a society, when we are in an organization, we are in a society of associates in the same project, in the same department, and so on. So there is a lot of social element, collaborative element, and we also bring that into learning. So on that note, let me deep dive a little bit into immersive technologies. So using immersive technologies, of course, technology is rapidly changing. So you have the mixed reality, AR, VR, and so on. I'm not talking about that, but what exactly does this help? How does it help? Because most of the time, these are all very expensive technologies to invest in, and it's not something that you can do for every program or every topic. So there has to be a clear business connect. There has to be a clear justification. Otherwise, even getting sponsorship is difficult from our leaders. So one of the reasons why immersive technologies helps is to get people engaged with the topic. So you might want to show the benefit of that, yeah. And then there is always a safe environment. So there should not be any hesitation in our learners, or of confidence, of assurance. Am I really learning the right thing? Am I doing it the right way? So using immersive technologies, they get to play around, they get to visualize a lot of complex aspects, and they're able to learn adjacencies. If I tinker this a bit, what happens? If I do alter this parameter, what could be the impact? So in a very safe, conducive environment, you are able to get people to get confidence in what they have learned. So from there, I go into what is learning in the flow of work. So learning in the flow of work is something that happens by default. Yeah, we know that there is continual learning. Even discussing a certain problem that they have in a project with their mentor or with their peer is also continuous learning. The first time they crack it, the next time they're able to address it themselves. So this is something that is always to be monitored. And when I say monitored, not for any score or anything, but monitored that such opportunities are there and people are learning and they're able to plow it back in their cycle. So this gives them also the opportunity to bring in their problem solving skills, yeah, because in a very short time they have to deliver it to the customer. They have an issue, they don't have the time to go and sit in a training or refer a video. Quickly they just get into a short discussion. Sometimes it could be anything, it could even be a video, it could even be an in-person discussion, but they are able to get sharpen their problem solving skills, and they're always aligned with the business goals. So I mentioned alignment to business in the context of AI, but this is alignment to business in the context of the projects and their own knowledge, yeah. And then they are able to pack their skills in a very holistic way. What they get as learning in the classroom is something at a very a structure, a framework, but when they are learning in the flow of work, they're able to pack all the missing gaps because they're doing it hands on. A little variation of immersive technologies or learning in the flow of work, experiential learning. You set up instances where you set up a use case which is real world, and you are, but it is not something that is directly related to the projects. Yeah, it may be that it happened in a previous project. You have carved it out as a learning, exercise, and you are able to deploy it, and associates are able to, work with that problem or the use case, and then they are what does this help in? It really helps in their reflection, the knowledge that they know. Are they able to solve it? Are they able to even ask meaningful questions if they are finding a challenge? What is the kind of feedback they get from associates or their mentors, as they are navigating this real world use case? And then each person can approach it differently, so you will be able to see the way innovatively some of the problems are being solved, how creatively they're looking for solutions. So this experiential learning is something that is different from a classroom formal learning, but at the same time very secure, very close to real world projects, and they are able to get this opportunity to apply their knowledge. And of course, I mentioned we are always working with teams, colleagues, etc. Each one's motivation, to learn something, to apply something is different. So this is where we become mindful of not to have place everybody in the same size. Yeah, just because I am learning something, why can't the other person in the project learn? And I'm dependent. That person may not be as fast as I. So we are able to become mindful of what motivations across, and we learn to adapt. Yeah, we learn to empathize that yes, we might have to give a certain leeway, we might have to give a little bit of scope for adjustments between team members. And then we are also therefore how does it help us? We have to maybe prioritize some activities. We can sort of have some kind of buffer in certain activities. Your decision making therefore becomes more accurate, more informed. And you're always also you also want to nurture your peers, if you're a manager, or your team members. So you want to scale them up. Feedback giving, delivery, receiving, all of this is something that is required in when you're planning your programs, so that this is how they bring the knowledge that they have acquired into practice. And of course, social and collaborative learning, very key. We are seeing this more and more, a lot of knowledge sharing. So there have been instances where we are sitting in a classroom, and then it's a mixed group of learners, and then the faculty says these are the kind of topics we're going to cover today, and we might be able to handle these kind of problems. And then somebody in the corner says, oh, we have solved this 6 months ago. Yeah. And then the others turn around and say, oh, it would have been wonderful if we knew about it. So we consciously create avenues for knowledge sharing. It should not go overboard, because then it cannot sustain. So what is the right mix of creating opportunities for knowledge sharing? Then and this helps when and again, in this collaborative learning, sometimes some of the associates or some of the teams bring in a tough problem that they have solved, and they share it, and they say, this is how we went about it. We have solved it. Maybe it was the best way, maybe it was not the best way. So this gets everybody else who never even solved that, who never even had that problem, to think about it. Yeah. So opportunities sharpen this kind of a critical thinking and problem solving. They go together, and this helps in bringing real world contexts into perspectives for the learners. And in a way, they start sometimes they think that I have learned all of this, I got to discuss, I'm now waiting for a project, or I'm waiting for the next opportunity where I can contribute. So it's, you can see this confidence level that really start scaling, because all of these discussions are happening not just on a theoretical level, but it is happening close to what is happening in projects. So on that note, I think I could move to the next. What are practical strategies? I had sort of covered, something that is from concept to launch. Yeah. We're looking for a lot of different aspects. It's not radically doing things differently, but how do we make the most of what's happening around us? How do we bring in a lot of practices that we are hearing in industry, and how do we integrate with the way we are working? So one of the things that is being discussed is how do we bring flexibility in the curriculum design. Yeah. So during COVID, we suddenly were directed to a lot of self-learning, self-paced learning, and suddenly access to faculty in real time was a challenge. And we also moved to some kind of a digital instructor-led training and so on. So there have been pros and cons on both sides. So now the lot of thinking is, how can we make it flexible, so that we make the best. We bring in customization for certain generic topics, and it is available. We also look at need-based requirements and see how to pump in instructor-led interventions and so on. So what this means, it means a lot in terms of, when I say it means a lot, it has a lot of impact on the instructional design. It has a lot of impact in the program curation. How can we modularize it so that the learners can do a little bit of a mix and match depending on the context of their need. We are saying that learning in the flow of work, so they don't have to wait for a full day formal program. They just in a project, a couple of them want something that is not basic level, something that is a little advanced. Then there is a fresher who has joined the team. The fresher needs a little more basic level knowledge. So you have broken down a program into modules, and this is made available to the learners according to their need. Yeah. And it could be for generic topics. We are moving more and more towards digital modules, so that we gain on time, we gain on efficiency, and we sort of retain the interactions with subject matter experts or with mentors for something that's more complicated, for something that is in requiring an expert view, something. And it also is we are also keeping these opportunities where, after doing the generic learning, there's a little bit of reflection, there's a little bit of thinking by the associates, and they also bring small problems that they think could be solved. So they get the mentors and the SMEs perspective in that. So this is one of the key things in making curriculum design flexible. Of course, we're looking at a lot of technology to integrate. We looking at having the LMS. We're looking at feature-rich functionalities that can complement and supplement, and therefore in the process we have a lot of technology that is integrated into this entire learning process. We give this very modern savvy, the associates are all modern savvy young digital natives, so they really easy to adapt for them, and they are able to work with technology in a way that is very seamless. Yeah. So technology integration. So looking for making technology part of your L&D infrastructure is a big requirement. LMS is one. We had chatbots, we had mobile interfaces, we had internally whatever is available within the organization ecosystem, in terms of knowledge databases, in terms of assessments, in terms of digitized content. All of this comes together here. So focus a bit on technology, and integrating technology into the L&D world is something that is really required, and how to grow it is over time you can scale up. Then we look at a community and social engagement in a slightly, adjacent perspective. Even faculty need development, right? Even faculty need exposure, especially internal faculty. They work with their projects. Of course, they have the subject matter knowledge, but if they're able to add that faculty flair, yeah, there's so many a time you might have a feedback if it is an internal trainer. Yeah, the person knows the subject but not able to convey, and so on. So professional development for faculty is something that is constantly to be monitored and enabled, and and also events for learning, sharing, etc. I mentioned in the previous context where they are able to learn from experts, learn from peers. So again, not to overdo this. If you do it in very quick frequency, after 2 3 such events, it will just fizzle out because people don't have the time, or people are not able to see the difference from one event to the next. So there should be a good balance where they know that the last time I attended this kind of a in-person event, this is what I learned, and maybe I can also suggest 1 or 2 topics for the next time, and they're looking in eager in eager anticipation of what's coming next. So that is something that really matters, because again, there's a lot, while people have been behind in a digital way of working. We have also observed that in-person events are something that is being looked upon, look forward to, and they add value there. I think in the previous context, I mentioned personalized learning experiences. So this is to empower them, to encourage them. They really need to know the data about whatever they are learning. So they, each person, if they have their personal dashboard, a learning dashboard, what have I, what is it that I'm focusing on? What have I acquired in terms of skills and knowledge? What are the kind of community events I've participated in? What are the kind of feedbacks I've received? It goes a long way. But of course, getting a dashboard, a learner level dashboard, is a huge, again, investment in terms of technology, in terms of infrastructure. It all depends on how the technology landscape is also being visualized for learning and development. But keep this as a sure, a requirement, and it is something that enables making very detailed insights and reports, because when the leadership wants information, or when they want to understand where their associates are, such dashboards and such insights are really very useful, and you're able to make recommendations where to focus, what to improve, what to strengthen, and so on. I mentioned something called choice boards. So choice boards is, again, from a dashboard perspective, it gives it sort of pops up what are the opportunities where they can work on a project. So I mentioned in the first slide a job market, right? So if you they have the possibility to understand, I have acquired this new skill, or I have completed an advanced level program. Now where but my current project might not be requiring that kind of a skill. And suddenly if they are able to get the visibility, which is the project that's looking for this combination or this particular skill, they are able to apply for it, they are able to move on to a different team, a different project. So choice boards, part of their learning dashboards. Then we look at knowledge repositories. Organizations such as ours, we always have this. There's a lot of knowledge elements created, knowledge assets created, but it is sort of scattered because we have multiple teams, multiple departments, and so on. So how do we make sure that it is accessible at the right time for the right team? So a lot of focus also to bring clarity again to the first aspect. What is the business wanting in the future? What kind of learning assets are available, even if it is all distributed? How can we bring such learning assets into some useful databases, which has where there you can catalog it, where you can index it, where you can throw it open with with some kind of good search indicators. And this becomes, you don't have to recreate knowledge assets, you don't have to recreate programs, you can reuse, you can do a lot of mix and match. So this is something that is also very useful to leverage and explore. And of course, the behavioral aspect of a learning mindset. So learning mindset, we really got to encourage, we got to nudge our learners, so that they find the benefit and the utility of what is being offered, from the L&D, or from in terms of programs and so on. So one of the things is, many of us, I think, have also focused on bringing micro learning. So when we say bring micro learning at scale, there's always a risk. We start big. We say that we're going to take a particular domain or a topic, and we sort of break it down. We have micro learning nuggets. Somewhere along the way, the energy fizzles out, but we cannot let that happen. So we need to have micro learning at scale. So if we want to do this, all of the previous things come together. You need to have a database, you need to have data driven insights, you need to have a community where there is a revision, a constant watch on what is valid. You need to have a technology to to host this and to deliver this, and in bits and bytes. Then you're able to always tell your learners, see, you don't have to go through an entire program. You are able to search what you want, and you're able to learn that and apply it on the go. So micro learning at scale, this is something that always is there at the back of for every associate as a repository, and they are able to use this. And this repeated use brings in this learning mindset, that anytime I need a learning, I need a nugget, I know where to go, I know what to look, I know it will be useful, I know it will be relevant. So we need to bring the quality of our micro learning nuggets to this stage where the learners by default without questions will use them. and giving them an opportunity to learn from each other, collaborate with each other. It will all come together when we have a good, a learning management system integrated with many feature-rich functions. And collaboration is something that's key to, to cross learning, to peer learning, and learning from experts. So this is something that can be also kept in mind as we build the infrastructure for build or even strengthen the infrastructure for learning and development. So this, I think, sort of covers what I wanted to share. I hope it has been useful, but I'm also interested to listen to your turn for comments, for queries, and for inputs and more. Sabine, if there were any questions on the chat board, you could also look at it. Else, yeah, anybody on the call, please feel free to ask. Hi, Bhavyata.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
There's no questions as of now.
Okay,
Jyoti says it was insightful, Anuradha. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, there are a couple of questions in the chat window now. I would ask people to leave their questions in the Q&A window instead of rather leaving in the chat window. You want me to read out the questions, Anuradha?
Please, I think we can take it that way. Yes.
Okay. With business getting busier every moment, every year, protecting time for own development gets jeopardized. What will be your approach to handle this?
Okay. Yes. That's always business is what matters at the end of the day is what the business leaders would say. But more and more business leaders are being sensitive, and they are also aware with the changing times. What knowledge the associates have come in is not going to sustain them into the future. So there are, I mean, many leaders are now encouraging that their L&D teams, their HR teams ensure that there is a regular planned, regular learning plan for their associates, no matter how big or small. But there is focus on learning and education to keep up with their business expectations. So the suggestion is that this is where it is imperative that L&D is aligned with business needs, and if you see that there is a limitation that for time and so on, how do we factor this? It could be as small as 5 to 8%, yeah, it means 1 to 2 hours a week, yeah, and then you can consolidate and so on, yeah, just on an average. So this is the kind of support that should go to the management for sponsoring, for acknowledging, and making it happen. And it will happen. I mean, that's what we are seeing, because there's a lot of focus. Yes, we are all in very difficult times, uncertainty all around us, but the only thing that is constant is please ensure that you all stay relevant. Yeah, so that's a messaging, and that's the same messaging that I would say, that we have to be mindful of what's happening around, and get the support for staying relevant in terms of time, in terms of budget, and in terms of decisions. I
Okay,
hope that
we
answers.
yeah. We have Dinesh again asking question about how to materialize AI into L&D, whether it is strategical or practical.
Good question. It is both. It is both. So when we look at our strategy perspective, we need to really break down where do we see our L&D strategy and our L&D approach for the organization we work for. and where is it that AI can make an impact. So when we say AI should make an impact, it is to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of what you do, and not to replace what is being done. Yeah, it is to enhance. So this requires some bit of brainstorming with like-minded stakeholders, and also get business details. So once you have the broad plan, the strategy fixed, you will be able to focus on what are the low hanging fruits, or what is it that is practically required to get started. So the big picture and then the drill down. So that's the way I would look at. Thank you, Dinesh. Naveen, and I don't know whether.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. This is
Yeah,
another question. Sorry about
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, that's
So
okay.
the question is, what are the challenges of adopting blended learning paths and how
Mhm.
can they be migrated?
So the question is, what are the challenges of adapting blended learning in the past?
Blended learning paths, learning path.
Paths. Okay, okay.
Okay.
So the challenges, so blended learning, there's a responsibility on the learner, yeah, that they complete some bit of work without supervision, without anybody, checking on them. And that's the expectation, so there's a responsibility. Many a time we see that it could get overlooked, or it gets in the priority of things, it may never get picked up. But however, there needs to be some kind of a tie-in, saying that yes, this is a program which is in a blended format. You do parts of it in either self-directed learning or digital learning, and then you come together where you will interact with an SME, interact with your peers, and that is the closure. And that fetches you the credential for a skill, for a proficiency, and that you can use it further in your projects. So linking what they're going to do to an impact. Yeah, if they just given a program that on completion, there is no visibility of how it's going to impact their projects, it's always going to be left behind. So it's necessary not to overwhelm or overburden with learnings and trainings. Pick up those trainings and identify. That's where this personalization becomes a little more key, and get them to orient themselves to how the learning program is going to impact them in their career, in their future, climbing up into their projects and higher level complex tasks. So that's the only way to show or rather address the challenge of blended learning, or for that matter, any learning. Just because they attend a classroom training and they do not know how it's going to be used, 2 months from now or 3 months from now, the next time a classroom training gets circulated, nobody would turn up. Yeah, so we always have that threat and that risk. So we have to ensure that there is a close looping with the business impact. That's on that point. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a question from ACL training. Okay. Which is the best approach, skill or competency-based training intervention?
See, skill building is what is a collective term when you're trying to, through knowledge, you're improving your the proficiency, or improving a particular subject. Whereas competencies, they are parallel topics or terms. And so competency is something that you will demonstrate. Yeah, so you build knowledge to demonstrate your competency. So you are building knowledge to demonstrate your competency on a particular project. Yeah, so that's a way. And to give you to answer your question, many of the organizations are looking at skills based. Yeah, so we will build skills so that our associates can demonstrate them on their work. Yeah, so and do not look at it as independent, they coexist. So skills based is leading to building competencies.
All right. Abhishek's question, does your organization follow any mini learning hours per employee as a benchmark?
We do have, as part of, I mean, it's a fairly large organization, so we are aligned with many industry standards for, practices, ISO 9000. We are an automotive software manufacturing unit, so we are ASPICE compliant, CMMI, and so on. So in this context, the industry expects, or rather these standards and guidelines expect that the industry sets aside certain certain learning hours per person. And so yes, we do have that. And it's always an average across the organization, so there's a lot of focus more on technical topics. So we also have behavioral soft skills, and we also have, because we are a multinational company, there's focus on foreign language and interculture and so on. So if you have about 6 days of technical training, you might have 2 days of behavioral and soft skills. You might have one day on an average for language and culture. So there is a ratio, but yes, there is some kind of a timetable. And I won't say timetable. It's not that you are given this is your hours, this is the in this week you should finish. On an average, when you look back on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, you should be able to show that you have invested in training.
All right. Tamil Arasan has a interesting question. Mostly people would want to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, people have always seen AI as a threat to humans. When it comes
Mm-hmm.
to L&D, will AI have that big impact?
Yeah, this I think that's an interesting question, like you say, and there's a buzz around that. So I think it's also coming out in debates and discussions. It's not that AI is going to replace humans, yeah. So that is where we have to draw the lines. But people who have AI knowledge, people who have AI skills, will definitely be having an advantage over people who are missing this. Yeah. So AI is all pervasive. Yeah. It's in whether it is in your personal life, whether it is in your professional life, whether it is on, when you're interacting outside of work, outside of your family. AI is just about everywhere. So the question is, AI is not replacing the human, but the humans need to acquire these skills. We are seeing AI as a tool. Yeah, in our organization, we see AI as a tool, and there are different levels and types and so on. So it's important that we understand and we acquire this knowledge as a tool. Yeah, if we don't, we miss that. So that's also the same message. That we acquire AI as a tool and not be left behind, because everybody else is doing something to acquire AI, the AI knowledge. So I hope let's look at it that way. Uh, and we constantly also sensitize that we should not see AI as a threat, but we also we take it into our own way of working.
Okay. Aishwarya has a question. Is it good to mandate training programs for employees in any organization? Then how to make employees think L&D is part of their professional journey?
Okay, that's again a very valid question. Um, it is very easy, for associates or employees not to bother about trainings, learnings, because they are not seeing the impact of it in their work. So this is where it is a lot of hard work for the L&D teams, but it is necessary to build this connect with business expectations. If the department head is looking is seeing a potential project, a potential line of service, and the manager knows that the current team is not really having all of the skills, and something has to be done to upgrade them. So if that person turns to the L&D department and says, "Please help me in this journey. We have in the next 3 to 4 months. I need to scale up my associates for these skills or these advanced level knowledge," and so L&D should be in a position to make this happen. Turnaround time, finding content, finding vendors, finding trainers, finding a good program, all of this, and making sure that the required associates or the employees have completed this in that manager's expectation of 3 to 4 months. So you can imagine how much of hard work there is, how much of time, and the time is not too much. Because if you start looking for content, if you start exploring, that itself can take many weeks together. But this is where L&D also needs to pull up and find out how AI can help, in bringing a content curation, at least give a draft, give a draft TOC or a table of content, and make recommendations of where to get the best programs. Blend all of these techniques to get, so that your time, the efficiency of your L&D operations reduces. And if the manager, just say if he hypothetically scale all of these challenges and limitations, and at the end of 4 months the manager is seeing that his team is now ready with the necessary training, the necessary skilling, and so on, and when the project gets started in the month of May, work starts, and all of these associates who are trained are seamlessly working, that is the sweet spot. Yeah, then there will be the announcement. You will also be sharing a lot of this, saying that this is our success story. And when this success story starts more and getting more and more, and you start making visibility around it, that is when people see the benefit of what L&D is, because it impacts them professionally. Till that, till every person sees the impact of L&D on their professional life, it's a struggle, it's a long journey. So get this alignment with business as soon as possible, as clearly as possible. So that is always an expectation, and that's the hard work the L&D teams have to strive to scale.
Okay, I think we have two more questions. I think we are also have a short of time, so
Okay.
we'll take these two questions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we have a question from TVS Electronics L&D
Yeah.
team. What strategies can organization use to foster a continuous learning mindset among employees?
Okay. Okay, so that's a very nice question, a sweet question, because uh, we started in our company, I think back in 2018, and the approach that we were really supported by our management and leaders. We gave what is known as a learning wallet. Yeah, and the learning wallet has a fixed sum of money, and every associate is told that they can explore and acquire any learning anywhere, and with digital learning being so common these days, any learning program, any certification, any conference, any topic that is relevant in to our company. So when we are an engineering company, engineering software company, so we put a boundary. It is any topic in STEM, science, technology, engineering, or management. So any topic in this landscape, people are free to explore and acquire. They don't need approval from their managers. They don't need any special processing. They It works. I mean, we have internal processes to ensure how the whole thing is the workflow goes through. But the bottom line is the associates have a flexibility. They have the choice. It is not dependent on a project. It is not dependent on managers approval. It is not dependent on any other aspect but their own passion, their topic of choice. And this has come a long way. So year on year we are seeing it is sponsored, like I said, from the HR. So year on year HR is continuing to continue this scheme. And we see a lot of what shall I say, enthusiastic participation. And there's also a lot of communication around this. So in the initial months, initial years, we only a few scattered here there, very curious, though there would be a lot of corporate communication about it. Even then, people have to do that extra mile themselves. So there used to be a lot of hesitancy, or let's not bother kind of approach. But now there's a lot of over time. So over time, there's been a lot of communication. People share how they have learned something, how they're able to on a personal interest, complete a learning, complete a credential. They're able to showcase it to a particular manager, get into a new project, how they have built their skills over these years, and how they've scaled up learning. So this has brought in a lot of positive encouragement. And so we focus our in and there is a team or a department which is called learning culture. So their entire focus is how to encourage people to invest in their own development. Yeah. So like I said, there's a lot of focus that the messaging for everybody, independent of hierarchy, from the junior most to the senior most, stay relevant. What have you done to improve yourself this year? What is your plan for the next? So this is something that has to be constantly dinned in. Yeah, not one time, not two times. This is a constant messaging that has to happen, and with leadership support, because the sponsoring has to be there. I want the, if the CEO says, I would like my organization to be always up to date to the extent possible, yeah. And I support them to explore. I support them to be relevant, yeah. Whether the HR says it or the department manager says it or the president says it, it's a long. It really goes a long way. So enlist the support of leaders and the management team to get this messaging to the associates. So that was on how to build in continuous learning.
So can we take one last
Yeah,
question?
sure, sure. I think we can
Okay.
have one.
All right. So this question is learning as a practice requires constant nudges. Can you
Mhm.
share with us at least two such nudges which are Marvick yet impactful?
Okay, I think it's like an extension of the previous thing. Uh, the visibility. If you learn this, this is how you can, and this is how you can progress further. At the end of the day, it's all about what's in it for me. Yeah, as an employee, as an associate, there's always this question. I invest all this, I do all this. What's the benefit for me? So the benefit, most of them are looking for professional growth. They're looking for better or complex projects depending on their interest, or they're looking for something that's more advanced technologies or more interesting work. So that's not going to happen if they just continue to stay where they are from a competence or the skill perspective. So that's the linkages that you one is a communication strategy. If you keep sharing good practices, these are how associates who have done something in the past and they have moved to newer things of their interest. Then there is always also an acknowledgement if you are able to bring them to see some for different people. Motivation works differently. Maybe they want to meet the president and say that I have acquired the latest knowledge, the I've just done AI agentic certification that's very new on the block, yeah. And you bring that visibility to the leader, saying that there is this person who is now having a knowledge of this. So if we want to work on a particular proposal, here is the person. So you have to bring that visibility of what's in it for me at a associate level, and and design the nudges accordingly. I hope I was able to give it in a short, concise way.
Yes.
No,
Yes,
yes.
Anuradha. I think there are no more questions. Really thank from the bottom of our heart to coming down and sparing time, especially in delivering such a wonderful session. I think people also have liked, and we are getting a lot of good comments too. Hopefully, we would like to have you again in the upcoming
Thank you
webinar
so
so
much.
that you
Thank you
can.
for the opportunity, and thank you all listeners for joining me today, and and for your patient hearing. And yeah, thanks Naveen. Thanks Vinod.
Great. Pleasure. All right, Anuradha, thank you, and thanks,
Thank you, and
participants.
have a
Again,
nice
we'll
day.
come up with, yeah, you too have a nice day. And also, participants will come up with a new session again every month. So
Yeah.
please look forward for the mails that we share. And maybe we'll have Anuradha again to deliver such a wonderful session with a new topic. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you all. Bye bye.